Hello friends, I hope you all are safe and sound at your places in the pandemic era of COVID-19. I wish you have a safe and sound stay at your home, and I wish your family members also should stay safe. Now let us go further with the series of our lectures. Today we'll be discussing about antiplatelet agents. Friends, you must have seen the Ed puzzle which is posted on the YouTube channel, and you might have understood the mechanism of platelet aggregation and the questions which were posted in that Ed puzzle. Now you have seen and we have learned that the principal function of platelet is to prevent bleeding by forming thrombus formation by sealing the damaged endothelial wall, right? If platelet comes in contact with the collagen which is inside the endothelium, which doesn't get exposed otherwise in the normal situation, in case the wall is damaged, the collagen is exposed to platelet, and there is formation of there is series of reaction take place, and finally the cut end is sealed by the initial platelet plug. So platelets play a very helpful function in our body. Then why do we have antiplatelet drugs? The answer is they are used as preventive aspect. Antiplatelet drugs interfere with the platelet function, and they are useful mainly to prevent thromboembolic disorders. In case if intravessel plug formation or that is known as pathological thrombus is formed, then it may cause or it will cause damage to the life. What is pathological thrombus? Pathological thrombus is inappropriate hemostasis, maybe because of atherosclerosis, that may lead to pathological thrombus. And especially when it is in the major arteries. If it is in the coronary artery, then the patient may get myocardial infarction or angina. If it is in the cerebral artery, it may lead to cerebral stroke, or if it is in the peripheral arteries, it may lead to peripheral vascular thrombosis. Friends, let me be very clear that antiplatelet drugs or platelet plug formation takes place mainly in the arteries, and that is the major danger. Now let us see some routine cause of atherosclerosis or pathological thrombus. Either may be due to injury to blood vessels, or there is roughened endothelial lining, sluggishness of blood flow, maybe because of higher cholesterol, especially low density lipoprotein and very low density lipoproteins. In case of diabetic patients or hypertensive patients, if patient is having any kind of abuse or addiction like nicotine or any other irritants, that may also lead to atherosclerosis, or of course sedentary lifestyle. These are the routine causes of atherosclerosis. Apart from these causes, there are certain other causes also, like snake venom poison, mercury poison, arsenic poisoning, or there is congenital absence of protein C. So these are the causes of atherosclerosis. Now let us see how the platelets get regulated. Regulation of platelet takes place by the factors remaining within the platelets and outside the platelets. Especially, there are certain receptors on the platelet membranes, ADP, PGD2, PGE2, 5-HT. These are the receptors found on the platelets, and stimulation of these receptors will lead to platelet aggregation, as we have seen. ADP, which is released from dense granule, stimulates platelet aggregation. There are certain factors which are lying inside the platelets. They are mainly vasoconstrictor agent, that is thromboxane A2, PGG2NH2, cyclic AMP, cyclic GMP, and calcium ions. Certain factors regulate platelet function from outside. that is prostacyclin, PGI2, thrombin, collagen, von Willebrand factor and adrenaline. So these are the potential targets. Alteration of these targets can have alteration in the platelet function. This is the figure which explains which are the potential targets of platelet function. Now if we talk about classification of antiplatelet agents, thromboxane A2 synthesis inhibitor, aspirin and desoxyban, these are the very commonly used drugs. ADP receptor blockers may be subdivided into irreversible and reversible blockers. Irreversible blockers, clopidogrel, prasugrel, ticlopidine. Then reversible blockers, ticagrelor and cangrelor. Phosphodiesterase enzyme inhibitor, dipyridamole and cilostazol. GP2B3A receptor blocker, eptifibatide, epsiximab, terofeban. Protease activated, these are the newer agents. Protease activated receptor antagonist vorapaxar and prostacyclin analog, epoprostenol and iloprost. As we have seen that thromboxane A2 is the vasoconstrictor, in opposite to that prostacyclin is vasodilator. So we can have analog of prostacyclin that, to counteract the action of 5-HT, that is vasoconstriction, and thromboxane A2. Now let us first consider about thromboxane A2 synthesis inhibitors. You might have learned that whenever there is any kind of tissue injury, there will be release of membrane-bound phospholipids that undergo phosphorylation and converts into arachidonic acid, which is very unstable compound. Soon it gets converted or metabolized by two pathways, 5-lipoxygenase pathway and cyclooxygenase pathway. So here with the metabolic process taking place by cyclooxygenase pathway, there will be formation of thromboxane A2, prostacyclin and prostaglandins. So if we inhibit this pathway by using NSAID, especially low dose aspirin, that will have action on thromboxane A2 synthesis inhibition. Thromboxane A2 synthesis is irreversibly blocked by aspirin, low dose aspirin, and this low dose of aspirin will not have any action on prostacyclin synthesis. So it is recommended as antiplatelet drug. But remember, this antiplatelet action will remain for 7 to 10 days. So it is recommended that if a patient is put on aspirin, it should be discontinued before at least a week prior to any kind of planned surgery to avoid excessive bleeding. Dose of aspirin would be 75 to 150 milligram once a day. Second group is ADP receptor blocker. Mind well, these are all prodrugs. So their onset of action would be slightly delayed, but once they get metabolized, they irreversibly inhibit ADP and block platelet aggregation. They are required in patients to prevent restenosis or reinfarction after MI, even after angioplasty or stenting, and in case of stroke patients also, these drugs have to be given. The drugs belonging to this class are routinely used clopidogrel and prasugrel. Clopidogrel, common ADR is neutropenia, thrombocytopenia. The dose of clopidogrel is 75 mg. Sometimes 300 mg loading dose also is given. Prasugrel is most potent and rapid in acute cases of acute coronary syndrome and after CABG. It is preferred for diabetic patients. There are more chances of bleeding, so it is contraindicated in severe stroke patients and patients having peptic ulcer. The dose of prasugrel is 10 mg OD. Ticlopidine, having more side effects, are considered and it is less potent drug. So earlier it was considered, but nowadays with clopidogrel and prasugrel, ticlopidine is less preferred. Reversible ADP blockers are ticagrelor and cangrelor. They are active drugs, so faster acting than the previous group. But we have to be very cautious that they are metabolized by cytochrome P isoenzyme 3A4. So concurrent administration of ketoconazole or clarithromycin or any such drugs which inhibit cytochrome P isoenzyme 3A4 enzyme, it will have side effects, especially dyspnea and bleeding. Dose of ticagrelor and cangrelor are 90 mg twice daily with aspirin. Phosphodiesterase inhibitor dipyridamole, they are preferred with warfarin for prophylaxis of thromboembolism, especially in patients with prosthetic heart valves. Pharmacological basis of dipyridamole is they raise intracellular cyclic AMP level and by inhibiting phosphodiesterase enzyme in platelets and by blocking adenosine uptake. So they reduce the incidence of stroke. Silostazol is newer PDE inhibitor having vasodilator property as well, and it is used to prevent intermittent claudication in PVD patients, peripheral vascular disease patients. GP2B3A receptor blocker, GP2B3A or alpha 2B beta 3, which was named in the video, is an integrin and it's the final common pathway in platelet aggregation. These integrin receptors, if you have seen in the video, that they are in the resting state, but once the fibrinogen comes, they become activated and they bridge the neighboring platelet and thus they cause platelet plug formation. So these receptors are found on the platelet cell surface and their activation will lead to platelet plug formation. These receptor antagonists are the most powerful antiplatelet drugs. But the only limitation of these drugs is they have to be given by IV route. So in case patient is admitted, then only these drugs can be administered. But for routine maintenance purpose, they should not be used. Epciximab is the Fab fragment of chimerized antibody which is directed against 2B3A complex. It is used to, it reduces the chances of restenosis, so preferred for patients of high risk in cases of percutaneous intervention and angioplasty and coronary thrombosis. The side effect of epciximab is bleeding, thrombocytopenia, hypotension, bradycardia, and sometimes dysrhythmia. So we have to be very cautious. Dose and route of administration is 0.25 mg per kilogram is given IV bolus, followed by 0.125 microgram per kilogram per minute infusion for 12 hours. But the limitation is it's very, very costly. Eptifibatide and tirofibam, they are more specific for GP2B3A receptor. They are both of them are longer acting, and the positive point is can be dissociated faster from platelets, and antiplatelet effect can be reversed soon. So in case of heavy bleeding, they can be reversed. They are eliminated via kidneys. They are used for acute coronary syndrome, especially in unstable angina and after coronary angioplasty. Side effect is same, thrombocytopenia and bleeding. Dose of eptifibatide is 180 microgram per kilogram initially, followed by 2 microgram per kilogram per minute intravenously. Tirofibam 0.4 microgram per kilogram over a period of 30 minutes, followed by 0.1 microgram per kilogram per minute for 48 hours after angioplasty. Usually they are started with heparin and aspirin. There are certain miscellaneous and recent compounds, PGI2 analogs, epoprostenol and iloprost. They are used to reduce platelet loss during hemodialysis or hemofiltration and in case of pulmonary hypertension. But the side effect is being vasodilators, patient will have severe throbbing headache and flushing. PAR antagonist vorapaxar is recently approved for ACS and MI, but there is high risk of bleeding, so it should be avoided in patients with stroke and transient ischemic attacks. Thromboxane A2 synthesis and action inhibitor Ridogrel, it is under development and it's yet to be approved. Friends, let us see where these drugs are used. Obviously, in coronary artery disease, post MI, and in case of unstable angina, as a maintenance therapy, aspirin and clopidogrel or prasugrel can be given with or without heparin. Initially, we can start with heparin. Later on, we can withdraw heparin. Uh, it is claimed that chances of restenosis after percutaneous intervention or plasty is greatly reduced by eptifibatide and abciximab when the patient is still admitted, and it can be given by IV administration of these drugs with heparin subcutaneously and aspirin 75 milligram orally. In case of cerebrovascular disease, in case of transient ischemic attacks, or it is known as mini stroke, aspirin or clopidogrel 75 milligram once a day with dipyridamole 200 milligram BD can be given lifelong. When the patient has been replaced with prosthetic heart valve and AV shunts, aspirin or clopidogrel 75 milligram plus warfarin can be given to be started with 5 to 15 milligram per day. To be started, warfarin 5 milligram per day can be extended, can be increased up to 15 milligrams per day. So this is all about antiplatelet agent. In nutshell, we have to know the physiological function of platelets is to cause platelet plug formation and to prevent blood loss. But in case of pathological thrombus formation, especially when the patient is having more chances of atherosclerosis, then antiplatelet agents and their targets are the potential drugs which can be useful to save life. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.